We texted him.
Okay.
Nothing.
Yeah,
I knew it was on boys that are just having
yeah.
go, go, go.
Right, it's just no, we're just gonna listen.
Same, yeah.
They hit the door and it was for the first hour and a half.
What's your name, Katie?
I'm gonna give it one more minute.
It's not on 6:30.
I know. But it was fun. You know, it was just-
But he's not usually, not necessarily like him to be this late and not call.
Are you?
Go.
You're
I saw him on the 4th.
I haven't seen him. I mean, but that doesn't mean.
Yeah, I like it. It was great.
My mom recently became great. She's the great grandma, and so now she's.
Hey Becky, will you grab that chair
Great.
that the box is on?
That's good. It's great.
We're like, give that to
That the chair that the pins are on? Oh, they found them. Okay.
Well, this should be interesting to see.
Okay. Just in case we need them.
Yeah, I'd
Okay. We ready? We ready? We're gonna have to go without him.
Make it happen.
I didn't see her.
Okay, hello. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order dated July 6, 2021. It is 6:34. Roll call.
Trustee Black. Trustee Dallison. Trustee Joswick.
Here.
Trustee Moreland.
Here.
Trustee Politis. Here. Trustee Cesaro.
Here.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Here.
5 present, 2 absent.
All right. If everybody would like to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. All right. Does the board have any conflicts of interest they would like to disclose at this time? Seeing none, we will move on to general public input. If members of the public would like to address the board not pertaining to any item on the agenda, you will have, go ahead and state your name, step up to the microphone, state your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Lucy Stewart. I live at 128 Appaloosa in Bayfield. And I have 2 issues tonight. I still have the one that I addressed the board with last month. And I had somebody dropped a sack of dirt in front of my door. That's how they fixed the problem. And then they dug a ditch in which they put all that dirt onto my chain link fence. They dug rocks out, and they were in the ditch. There's a reason these culverts are there. There's a reason this ditch was put in. And they haven't done anything to my yard. It still looks like crap. And I haven't talked to, because he's avoiding me, and that's fine. You know what? I'll get the last deal with this, and that's okay. The other thing is on Thursday, we get our trash picked up. It didn't happen again. This happens way too often. I called the town hall twice. Finally, I came down to the town hall. I called Katie, no answer. I figured she took Friday off because she had Sunday things going on. But I finally came down to the town to see what was going on with the trash. I was told by the lady sitting in the front of the desk there that we are overfilling our trash cans. Well, I did tell her we are going to overfill them if they don't come every week like they should, which they're not doing. And as of right now, I still don't have an answer what happened to the trash pickup last week. But if they're not going to do their job, then I think the city needs to look into somebody that wants to do it. This happens at least once or twice a week, and it's getting old. My bill doesn't go down, and they don't do their job. And I call and complain down here, and nothing gets done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is regarding Cinnamon
Name,
Heights.
address.
My name's Lori Lazari, but I'm speaking for Charlotte Dyer because she can't be here.
So we're going to have a whole section for public comment on Cinnamon Heights if you just want to wait for that item on the
Oh,
agenda.
tonight?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes. Do we have anyone else? All right. Moving on. Did everybody get a chance to look at the agenda? I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So move.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
Did everyone get a chance to look at the June 15th, 2021 regular meeting minutes?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve the June 15th, 2021 meeting minutes as presented by the town clerk.
Second?
All right, any discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, and just, I would entertain a motion at this time to acknowledge that roll call for the June 28th work session was attended by myself and the 6 trustees. For the records.
I would make that motion to acknowledge that roll call attendance included the mayor and the 6 trustees were all present.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, at this time, I would like to open it up for public input regarding Cinnamon Heights. And just for the record, go ahead and please state your name and address, and you can address the board. I know that seemed weird, but it's just our little practice.
So my name is Lori Lazari. I'm at 1362 Kremer Drive.
Could you say your last name again, please?
Lazari. Kind
Lazari?
of close
Okay.
to Cesaro.
I know. It's like-
No relation. But I'm speaking for Charla because she couldn't make it tonight, and I said I would do that for her. She says, first of all, thank you for the work that you're doing for the town of Bayfield. I believe that you each have dedicated yourselves to the betterment of our community, even though this project of Cinnamon Heights, that you truly desire the best outcome. Her concerns are as follows. Board members have specifically stated on multiple occasions that transparency in public education is of most importance, yet I have not seen it demonstrated in Cinnamon Heights. The contract for purchase was signed before there was any public notification. Discussions were held in executive sessions, and it appears the funds are being filtered through the sewer fund. The May expenditure report that was in the agenda packet for June had no mention of the $750,000 spent for the property purchase or any other related expense. When I asked Katie about the cost, she said that there has been issues with the financial director and efforts are being made to get the finances in order. This is quite a large expenditure to be overlooked. I have requested the documents that state the funding of the project and have yet to receive any kind of financial documents. There has been no public education on any aspect of this project, how it impacts the community, the taxpayer, the workforce, the ongoing costs. The article in the Drangle Herald was just that, simply an article after the fact. An agenda item hidden through the events does not constitute educating the public. The organizational chart for the town of Bayfield shows the board and staff work for the town of the Bayfield residents, we the taxpayers, yet I don't see anywhere where the community was even asked if this was a priority or a desire. for them. It appears the board decided that this is what they were going to do with no regard to the Bayfield residents. We were just informed after the fact. The project was not only a high purchase, but the ongoing cost of hard expenses, time and effort commits the taxpayers to a large ongoing burden of which they had no voice. I have not seen where the citizens' opinions were even considered. I ask that this project be halted until the community can be educated. There is a full transparency of the funding thus far and allow the community, taxpayers of whom you claim you work for, to have a true voice in this matter. There should be public education and full transparency on this project before it goes any further. Another point, I doubt anyone would disagree that housing is a very real need here and that we all want to honor those who serve our community and enhance their lives. Yet, is an ongoing tax burden that benefits only a few the best way to address this issue? I have yet to see where the government has streamlined a project and provided a more efficient method. Overregulation, fees, taxes continue to increase, and grants may come from another venue, yet they are still paid by we, the taxpayer. I feel like the discrimination to the rest of the community is unacceptable. Many have experienced a devastating year from someone else determining whether or not their job was essential. Now you are continuing that mindset, determining who is worthy of this benefit. It is for affordable housing. Why is the waitress not eligible? The widow on a fixed income, the daycare provider. Yes, we all agree that we need essential services, yet should any of these people be funded above and beyond our taxpayers in our community? I hope that didn't take too long.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Linda Abbott. I live at 324 Star Crossing. I'll just read what my concerns and thoughts are from the meeting last week. First of all, it's my impression that the town services that Bayfield, the town services that you are to provide for the residents of Bayfield come under Public Works, Parks and Recreation, Pine River Senior Center, Trash and Recycle, Zoning and Planning, Building Department, and Pet Licensing. So where does providing workforce housing fit into the services that the town is to provide for its citizens? That was just one of my questions. Moving on, I want to know who among you has the experience in developing a subdivision housing project that can assure the success of this endeavor. I would like to see the person's CV to assure me that this project will start and finish in a timely manner, come in at budget, better yet, under budget. And what happens if there are delays and the town goes over its budget? How are the costs going to be recuperated? I'm thinking our taxes will go up. Once again, please inform me how you replenish the sewer fund. What is your backup if, God forbid, there is a catastrophic sewer incident and you need money stat to resolve the issue? This is just a thought and comes under planning ahead and what I expect from the town of Bayfield. During last week's housing work session meeting, a lot of potential scenarios were mentioned as to the town's plans regarding their recent purchase of Cinnamon Heights, such as possibly it could be used for transitory living, modular housing was thrown out there. There was the mention of 3D, and I am clueless on what that is. A daycare center was thrown out there as well. However, according to page 12 right here, which is the plat in the zoning for Cinnamon Heights, it's my understanding that the future development of Cinnamon Heights, this is what it's to be. And when I bought my home out in Sunrise subdivision, that is what I was informed would be on that property. So I went ahead in good faith and bought my home. I mean, I don't have a problem with townhouses out there, but I certainly don't want to see apartments, rentals. I don't want to see a daycare center. I don't want to see modular homes. And furthermore, it's my understanding that because Cinnamon Heights has already been zoned for what we're looking at here on page 12, that don't you have to go to the citizens of Bayfield in order to change the zoning? I'm not sure on that, but I would think that would need to happen. And as we all know, the cost of building has increased substantially. It's my understanding that the cost of lumber alone has tripled in price, which means the cost that was projected from you guys in the paper, what it was then, by the time you get started on your building, could be substantially more. Furthermore, you know, it's probably just a matter of time before we have a severe correction in our economy, if not perhaps a total collapse. And if that happens, will the town be left with dwellings that they build for $270,000, $300,000 or more, and they could decrease substantially in value? So what happens? Are you guys left holding the bag on property that is valueless, that you'll have to sell? I just don't know. That's how I got into my house. When I looked at it earlier, it was priced very high. Then the economy tanked in 2008. So I got a good deal on it. It's worth a lot more now. But it's just something to think about. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Do we have any more discussion on Cinnamon Heights?
For myself, is there time?
Now's your time.
Again, I'm Lori Lazari, 1362 Kremer. So I know this project is a difficult one to tackle. I honor your effort to try to improve the housing situation in our community. It is not an easy task, especially when the price of building materials have skyrocketed. One of my concerns is that the town government generally does not have the expertise in the building industry. I would prefer that builders buy a property and they build without adding on a layer of expense of various town employees who will have to attend meetings, track progress, hire contractors, prepare reports for accountability, transparency, and much more. It all costs money and require more local tax revenue. Each contractor hired will charge more when working with a government entity. They will know that they are going to have to deal with a lot of red tape, which takes time and equates to higher costs. They may need to report monthly on percent completion and what tasks have been completed, adding to their daily workload. The affordable workforce housing does not sound affordable at $300,000 per townhome. The cost of building is skyrocketing right now. What happens when one townhome costs $350,000 or more? And in what year would that be? We have no idea when building begins. Even at the target price of $300,000, the land was actually purchased before a specific plan was approved, with a buy-in from contractors on how to achieve that price and for what year there will be completion. The work session on page 11 lists 14 different ideas from all directions, stemming from rentals to sales with undefined deed restrictions to 6 to 12-month transitional units that they would offer, and more. It sounds like a nightmare, but it is not even defined as to if these will be for sale or for rent, some of both, maybe at a daycare center. These need to be defined, presented to the community of taxpayers, and approved, possibly at the next election. If the town went to a bank to get a loan for this proposed task, they would say, come back when you actually have a well-defined plan. At this point, it looks like an opportunity for the town to get into a huge debt. Grant money, which is paid by taxes, can only go so far when it appears to drop into a hole. For the town to choose who will have top priority to buy a home, beginning with the town employees, in principle, it goes against the Fair Housing Act. It will not benefit all current or prospective residents of Bayfield who deserve a fair chance at affordable housing, the same as town employees or teachers who at present have the top priority. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. And I honestly, I appreciate you coming up here with these concerns. This is exactly what we want to hear. We want to address these and make sure we get this right. So I appreciate you stepping up today.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, we will move on to department reports. Public Works. Jeremy, do you have anything to add to your report?
No, I don't have anything to add. I just had one question. I wanted to clarify that Sterling is a mid-sized dump truck you can operate without a CDL, and that's where we had a slight problem with the alternator. So anyway,
Oh,
I had a couple questions. I assumed you knew what that piece of equipment was, but I guess I was wrong.
Thank you.
Does the board have any questions
you.
for Jeremy?
No.
All right, moving on to our marshal report. Joe, do you have anything to add to your report?
Nothing to add to the report, but what I just want to let the public know and the citizens know is recently we've had a rash of thefts throughout the area. It's not only Bayfield, it's Durango, it's in La Plata County. A lot of them have been a crime of opportunity where people are leaving their vehicles unlocked and the valuables are in their vehicles. So we just want to throw out a reminder to everybody, please, I know it's Bayfield, but we have crime here too, so we're just asking and reminding the citizens to make sure that you lock your vehicles, especially if you don't have a garage or something to secure them in.
So, Joe, this has been all vehicles or people broken into houses or?
No, these are vehicles that have been parked outside, but the vehicles are left unlocked.
Yeah, okay.
And so it's a crime of opportunity. It's an easy crime because they just go by the car, lift the handle, see if it's unlocked, and then they can just get in and see what they can find inside the vehicle.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to town manager. Katie, do you have anything to add to your report?
I don't have anything to add. A couple pictures from the RHA retreat last week, and just information from La Plata County Senior Services about the lunch program that will start tomorrow.
Okay, and board have any questions for Katie?
You had a second meeting, second day. Were they receptive at all to the idea of some kind of a revenue stream?
I think they're interested in a revenue stream, and I think just like any taxpayer here, they'd like to know what it's going to do, what it's going to go for. And so that may be looking for a win, a housing win for the RHA, and then looking for that project that actually would give the voters information about how those funds would be spent.
All right, moving on to economic and community engagement coordinator. Beth, do you have anything to add to your report?
I do not, thank you.
Does the board have any questions for Beth at this time? No? All right, moving on to our financial agenda items. Sales tax.
So your sales tax is up the 6 months from 2020 to 2021, and your general fund is up $123,000. It's up in your capital improvement fund over the 6 months of $35,000, and it's up in your street fund by $35,000.
All right. Any questions, comments? Take a look at the disbursements discussion item. Those will be in the next packet.
Yeah, we there's either two reports. Either we can report only the disbursements with checks or only the disbursements with absolutely every receipt. And if you think about how many times that we may go to Lewis Merck or whatever, you would get hundreds and hundreds of entries. So I am aware that Cassell will do this. It's just a matter of training and working with Cassell to get the disbursements out with all disbursements, not just the checks.
Okay, same thing, our financial statements, they'll be in the next
That's correct.
agenda. Okay. All right, moving on to the July 4th celebration. Department directors.
So it's just a round robin. I was actually in charge of the parade entry, and I would say that probably a little bit more timing, a little less timing of waiting would be helpful, and maybe making sure that they have a spot, a number next time so that we put them in order.
Yeah, I think for the most part, everything went rather well. I guess we were really concerned about the road closures at the 8 Corners intersection, so we focused a lot of energy there. We had a little bit of a mess, no accidents, but 516 and Bayfield Parkway needs a little bit more attention. And I'd also recommend, if we think we're going to do these closures in the future, that we invest in some more easily movable equipment and traffic barriers. It was a pretty monumental task to move almost 40 Jersey barriers and close the streets over 2 days for the event.
Just how much time did you spend doing that?
Probably 3 days. So we'll have 2 days removing them. So we probably have a week in moving those Jersey barriers with the department.
So I could probably talk for hours about the 4th of July celebration, but I'll just go with one positive and kind of one thing for improvement next year. Positive was the beer tent. Moving it to the North Field just made my park staff, their prep list significantly easier. And then I think Rotary really enjoyed it as well. They were able to get more people in there, spread out. So a couple things that we need to fix in terms of that, but I think in general it was a good move. You guys might have got some complaints, but originally we had parking and shuttling at the high school and the middle school and the intermediate school, and we had 2 shuttle buses. One of those buses broke down. So during the event sometime, I'm going to say about probably 11:30, we had one bus that was just trying to do continual runs, trying to pick everyone up, and she just couldn't keep up. We made some tweaks there to get our handicap carts over to the barricades to try to transport people that were getting off the bus down into the parade route. But I mean, I'm not sure if we got everyone there on time because of that shuttle bus breaking down. So moving forward, definitely need 2 buses, if not maybe even 3, if we're going to continue to shut down the south part of town. So.
For me, I had the vendors. They did really well, and they loved the event. They sold out of food, they sold out of product. The ice trailer on site was very, very popular and made things a lot more efficient. I want to really thank our volunteers, including Rachel Davenport's 2 boys. They probably put in at least 40 hours each into the event. And sponsor revenue, parade, and all vendors were actually up by $565 over the prior year, which is good considering we got a late start. Big room for improvement. This was my first time. I ran short of time, and with better lead time next year, I know we can really knock those revenue numbers out of the park. Joe.
So from my standpoint, from the law enforcement standpoint, everything went really well. We had absolutely 0 incidents throughout the whole day. We had no medical calls. We had no lost kids or children or parents. Few lost and found items that we took in, and we've been able to reunite those with most everybody that lost that item. I will say this regarding the barricades. Thank you to Jeremy for the barricades. That was at my request, just so the board knows. And the reason being is for a safety standpoint, as we have all seen over the last couple of years, large events or open air events, celebrations or demonstrations or whatever have become a target for people using a vehicle as a weapon and causing mass casualty. So that was my call, and I know that it took a lot of time for Public Works to deal with, but it was greatly appreciated. So again, from our standpoint, the day went really well.
Me? This is the first year that I've ever volunteered or worked the 4th of July. And I was amazed at how well it really went. And I'm super surprised that Becky was able to pull this off by herself in years past. I worked with Beth and checked in the vendors, and from where I was at, everything went very smoothly. Beth had everything lined out, everybody had a number, I knew exactly where to send them, so my job was really easy.
All right, and I just want to, on behalf of myself and the board, I do want to say a big thank you to all town staff. That was a great day, and like I said, after the last year that we've had, I think everyone needed it, and it was a super fun day, and I think kind of put Bayfield on the map again. All right, any other comments from the board?
Yeah. Am I allowed to comment?
You? Comment.
So on behalf of my neighbors, the Ludwigs who live on North Street, I don't know what their address is, they were over the moon about Rachel's boys coming to their place and letting them know what was going on downtown. They really didn't know, and I guess maybe we could have gotten those flyers out or something like that a little earlier, but they came across the street and told me that they wanted me to come here and say that on their behalf, that they really appreciated that, and that the boys were really nice young men, which we all know that, but yeah. And well done on the events. Beth, I went down there, I did a little volunteering with the Powerhouse, and it was so much fun. There were great treats, and it seemed like it was super well organized, and having those activities there for the kiddos was a lifesaver for some of the parents to just kind of have an adult with some eyes on them while they could take care of other kids' needs and whatnot. So, yeah, I thought it went really, really well. As somebody who lives downtown and sees the muckety-muck every year, I thought it was great. So thank you so much to the staff and everybody that pitched in. I thought it was a great event this year.
I thought it was awesome. My brother-in-law had his got his little motorized wheelchair out and wheeled all over the place, and was really, really happy that he could get down and out and interact with everybody. And the only comment he had is just make sure you put the Jersey barriers 30 inches apart so he can get through.
Valid. All right, yeah, once again, thank you, everyone, town staff. Moving on to old business. Do we have any general public input on Resolution 490, our drought management plan? If not, let's move on to agenda item 5A, Resolution 490.
So the Colorado Water Conservation Board, we received a grant for the drought management plan. We are going to complete that. You did adopt that on June 15th. The Conservation Board either wants some documentation that it was adopted by the Board of Trustees. We can either put the resolution in, one page, or a couple pages of minutes. And then, of course, your minutes would reflect everything. So the resolution, I think, is a simple document for your consideration.
Katie, I remember from that discussion, were there some items that they were going to finish still?
That's correct.
Okay.
They're waiting for us.
Okay.
They do have those edits. And they were gonna finalize it and put this resolution or the minutes, one or the other, into the document.
The resolution just kind of streamlines it a little bit, so.
And the minutes aren't really official until you have approved them tonight, so we were
Right.
kind of waiting either one way or the other.
All right, does the board have any questions?
Madam Mayor, I'd move adoption of Resolution 490, which is a resolution documenting the adoption of a drought management plan by the Board of Trustees of the town of Bayfield, Colorado.
I'd second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Black,
Yay.
Trustee Joswick,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Politis,
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, moving on to new business. Do we have any general public input pertaining to items 6A through E on the agenda? All right, seeing none, we will move on to 6A, Resolution 491, Public Record Request and Fees. And you did get an update on,
So, Town Attorney Josh Mack made some revisions, and I will let him explain those revisions.
Good evening, Board. The revisions basically, Katie's draft sort of referenced the statute that allows public entities to charge fees for public record requests. And I just thought it was a lot more clearer and more readable for citizens to be able to look on your website and see a policy that actually lists the fees they may be asked to pay. So that's essentially the change, is that instead of just referencing the statute, it actually enumerates the fees they may be asked to pay depending on the types of records that they may be requesting.
All right, does the board have any questions on the
That
new?
would generally cover the cost of one person working on the retrieval of records.
Well, I would say an intern cost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like I said,
If we were hiring our IT consultant to do that cost, no, it
No.
does, that amount does not cover that.
that doesn't cover it.
Yeah,
So-
there are statutory limitations on what you can charge, and
Okay.
these are basically those limitations. So
Okay.
that hourly rate that would be charged for research that is what is allowed under Colorado law. And then if there are other requests that have other specific costs associated because they involve technology issues, those are dealt with in the other paragraphs.
Thank you.
And so would I be correct to assume that this would be an annual change every year?
Not necessarily. It only needs to change if they actually revise the statute or if they revise the maximum hourly rate, which is done by a state administrative agency. I think it's the Department of Local Affairs. Every few years, they up that rate for inflation.
All right, does the board have any other questions or comments?
No, Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 491, public record requests and fees.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Black.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, moving on to our Southwest Training Region Grant Management.
So I will either explain this or let Marshall McIntyre provide information. There's 3 of those items.
So I am the chairman of the Southwest Region Training Committee. I have been with that committee, I was assigned to that committee as an agency representative for law enforcement. When I came down here in December of 2011, I took over as the chair of the board approximately 3 or 4 years after that. During that time, up until recently, the city of Durango was the fiscal agent for that grant. Prior to that, it was the city of Cortez. And each year, our board has been approached by the city of Durango asking if another agency wanted to take over as the fiscal agent. And for many years, nobody wanted to. 2 years ago, I approached Chris LeMay and asked how he felt that if we took over as the fiscal agent for the grant. And at that time, the town manager said, no, I really don't want to deal with that. With Katie being here, I did approach Katie and I said, how do you feel about us being the fiscal agent? And of course, we have other grants where we're the fiscal agent anyway. And she agreed. She said, I don't see any problem or issues with it. Obviously, I provided her and she provided you with grant documentation regarding all requirements, what the grant entails. Long story short, our region receives grant funding from the Peace Officer Standard and Training Board for the state of Colorado. And then our region we go out and find vendors or instructors and we bring in training for law enforcement officers in the 5-county region down here. That being Montezuma, Dolores, La Plata County, San Juan, and Archuleta County. Some of the other funding that we request goes to pay for scholarships that agencies can put in for their officers, and those officers receive that training, and then they put in a reimbursement request through the Southwest Post region, and they get reimbursed that money. So that's kind of and our agency has used it all the time, and it's helped supplement our training budget. And then there's some costs regarding the grant delivery or program delivery, which is second or third on this list that we'll be discussing. Plus, the fiscal agent receives a small amount of funding in order to do their part in being the fiscal agent. And again, going back to the city of Durango each year is asked, if there was another agency that wanted to take over as the fiscal agent, and nobody really stepped up and said yes. But I took the opportunity this year to approach Katie and see how she felt about this. Couple reasons. As we all know, the last couple years there was an issue over in the city of Durango in the finance department. They've had some turnover. I kind of got the feeling that they were kind of wanting to lighten their load, while also bringing in new employees and learning their system and everything. I don't see that it's going to take a whole lot of time and work for our staff. But I felt it was time that another agency step up, and I felt that we could do it. We've had discussions with our staff. I've had the discussion with Katie, and we have gone through that process. The Colorado Post required our board to do an actual vote on making the change in the fiscal agent, and it was passed. It was unanimous. So they agreed that the town of Bayfield would become the fiscal agent, and we have no issues, or Colorado Post has no issues with us taking over.
I apologize, this one snuck up on me, but do I need to ask Trustee Moreland to abstain from a vote in B through D?
So I'm going to give my opinion. Because you have no say in what we do with that funding and who receives scholarship money or who receives that training or gets reimbursed, I don't believe it's a conflict of interest.
I don't believe you have to recuse.
Okay. Thank you. Just wanted to clear the air on that one, so.
Good.
So I would like to make basically one comment. We are transitioning from a finance director. We've had some changes, and I feel confident that the marshal's office will handle their portion. It will basically become to the finance director as accounts payable, some items that we'll have to pay out, and of course there will be requirement of a budget supplement because there'll be additional expenditures that come in and come out.
So they have somebody from their side doing the reporting on the grant and all that.
Yeah, so the program delivery, he basically takes care of all the paperwork.
Yes, that's number.
Well,
So it's
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Gotcha.
The next
Gotcha.
guy.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha.
Either the next one or number 3. Our person that we enter into a contract with to do the program delivery, he basically takes care of all the paperwork and reporting that through an online system to the state. Amber's going to play a role in this because she's going to be a second set of eyes on this and making sure all paperwork is correct and complete and what Post needs. And then she's going to end up notifying Kathy. We are going to be receiving a ACH fund transfer. And then as soon as Kathy receives that, then Amber's going to say, okay, this is who we need to cut the check to. So I believe we've got a process that's going to be fairly easy, and it's not going to be too much of a headache.
Thank you for your clarification on all that. And does the board have any questions at this time for Joe?
No, not at all. I know there's some other agencies around that do oversight, but I'm way okay with the town of Bayfield taking this one on.
Yeah, you pretty much answered the questions that I had. Thank you.
I think it's really smart having that professional that's going to help with the delivery of the program deliverables, because I know what a big task that can be.
All right, sticking to item 6B, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the marshal office staff and administrative staff operations to include the management of the Southwest Training Region POST funding program.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Black.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, moving on to our Peace Officer Standards and Training Grant. So I think we kind of went over this in that discussion, but we would need a motion.
I would move that we authorize the town manager to execute this grant for $127,429.
I'll second that.
All right, any further comments or questions? Roll call.
Trustee Black.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, moving on to Post Coordinator. Once again, I think we covered that in our discussion, but we need a motion to authorize myself to execute.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to authorize Mayor Tarkington to execute an updated or corrected IGA for Michael J. Mulligan for $11,080.
I would second that.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Black.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to Fox Farm Village request to participate in 2/3 of tree fire reduction.
So I live in Mesa Meadows, and I travel back and forth by dog walking or whatever. And I was really surprised that the streets in Fox Farm and all the nature trails are basically operated by the HOA. And so they are asking for the town to participate in 2/3 of the tree removal to reduce the fire hazard in that area. There are a lot of brambles in there. There's trash that's been thrown in there. It has become a real issue. However, we believe there may be funds through other fire reduction methods. Talked to Bruce Evans at the Upper Pine River Fire Protection District regarding those funds. So we would like them to make some attempt to go that direction as well. And of course, just before I got this email regarding this request, I had also been phone called by one of the members on the HOA board that wanted the town to take over the street maintenance as well. So I said, well, you got a lot of things you're asking us to do, but I really need to see what was agreed upon when that project was developed. I'm not asking necessarily for your decision today. I threw a lot of things in my comments about this request for your information, because there is a lot of open space that they have that they're managing. And of course then I also got a phone call from David McMillan regarding the fact that that's just for the trail cleanup. That doesn't include other tree mitigation along Buck Highway. And you'll notice there's a lot of trees basically all the way from Mill Street, or a little past Mill Street, all the way to Mars Drive. So anyway, I thought this is worth the discussion, but I would like this, I am asking you to table this until they look for some other funds. But I would like some discussion about how you feel about the trail mitigation, if there's any consideration of any funding for this. I would kind of suggest that this goes to the tree board, because the tree board was received $10,000 for tree mitigation. So I think that may be appropriate for the tree board to consider. So
I like that idea.
I'm also curious how this is written into their HOA to maintain that trail.
And that's where I start drawing the line, because I live next door. And for, let's see, going on 15 years now, I have, in the wintertime, maintained that trail and have gotten so much as have not even gotten a thank you from anybody. But it's always plowed because I take the time and do it.
I didn't know you did that, so thank you.
I do that. I do
I've walked that trail.
I do that. And I do that as a courtesy. But you would think that somebody in that homeowners association would get off their duff and get out there and do a little help. And I don't see it, ever. And I'm not too inclined to give too much in way of town funds right at the moment towards anything going on at Fox Farm. I also am not too likely to approve us taking over the maintenance of their road, because they had every opportunity when they developed that to make that a public right-of-way, and they refused to do so. And I mean, we went around and around and around on that, and they refused to do so. So they can maintain it. They bought it, they can maintain it. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think this warrants just a little more investigation on that end. And, as far as the trail that comes down, I know that is a heavily used trail for the town. And, I would like to get this figured out. So it would just be,
Yep. Would the tree board then make an assessment of what exactly the fire hazard is there? Because I know that most of those trees are deciduous. And I haven't the slightest idea if that means that they're less likely to burn or more likely to burn, or I'd like to have somebody make an assessment of that.
So that's the quote that you got, that was in the packet regarding, I believe that they are an arborist. They hire an arborist, to do that.
It's grasshopper.
It's grasshopper. They actually will have an arborist determine what needs to be trimmed, removed, reduced, whatever.
No, okay, so they're not talking about clear cutting it.
No.
no.
No, I
Okay.
don't think an arborist has that, in them.
Well, pay them enough, figures.
But, this is a concern, and it's not just Fox Farm there, because all along the Buck Highway, we have a real issue with overgrown
Underground.
frontage.
Yeah.
And it's a fire hazard, not just a little fire hazard, it's a big fire hazard. And I want people ought to take a note. I mow my grass all the way down to the Buck Highway. Part of that's to maintain a fire break. Absolutely. I mean, I see what, we had a fire a couple years ago just south of town, where somebody was setting fires intentionally. And those fires in the afternoon run right up those hills. So, yeah, it is an issue, but the people in Fox Farm need to own it. I mean, they need to own it. They have open space in there that they have fenced off from everybody else. There's supposed to be access from the north end. There's no access from the north end that I can see, because people have over-fenced their yards. I mean, they're entitled to a yard, but they have over-fenced their yards. And not just a few people, a lot of people.
When is the next tree board meeting?
We had one in June. The next one won't be until August.
Okay.
Honestly, when I was looking at the estimate from Grasshopper, I was like, oh, is this for the tree board? I honestly, because, this is exactly what we talk about in tree board meetings, is finding problem areas and resolving them, So I think that this, if people would agree with it, I think that would be a great first project or partial project or something like that. But yeah, I know walking down through that little trail between the top and the bottom, it gets a little scary in there. And I always kind of wondered why we didn't trim it. So I guess
Now
it's
you
not
know.
ours. So yeah, there you go.
So, with that being said, I would just entertain a motion to table this request until we
So
gather.
move.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Black.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, moving on to the discussion portion of our evening. Up first, we have the senior center discussion. And we have Dan.
My name is Dan Devojak. I live at 632 Samaritz, Bayfield, Colorado. I am the president of the Pine River Seniors, and 90% of these people here are I'm representing these people as their spokesperson. I don't know how many people you've been around here very long time, but in 2007, the county turned over the deed to the Pine River Senior Center to the town of Bayfield with the purpose that the town of Bayfield took care of the senior center and the seniors. We feel that we're not getting our just dues from the town. We would like the senior center open back up like it used to be from 9 a.m. in the morning to 3 p.m. in the afternoon, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And we'd like a representative there at that time, either from the town or somebody there that can take care of stuff in case there's an accident. And if somebody at one of the seniors had a major problem there, before we could get a hold of somebody, well, it'd probably be too late. All towns that we've talked to around here, all senior centers have a senior coordinator or a respective person at the senior center at the time that the senior centers are open. Also, we have a problem, I don't know what's causing it, but the senior center is not being cleaned. The bathrooms are dirty, the sinks are dirty in there. I don't know what happened to the person who used to take care of that, but whoever it is not doing it. So we would like to have our center open back up like it's supposed to be, that the town promised that they would take care of this when the county gave it to them. And I think that the town should stand up and do their job that they said they would do. Thank you.
Come on up.
Thank you, Ashley. I'm kind of short. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
I see you.
Either
just
that or
barely.
he's that way.
Or he's that kind of tall.
First of all, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And to begin with, I'm Phyllis Ludwig, 9205 County Road 521 in Bayfield. And to begin with, we seniors would like to thank the town and the Salvation Army for purchasing our meals the past weeks. I believe there were 48 meals in all. Also, thanks to Beth for coming over to get acquainted and help out at the center, and driving Sandy and myself to deliver water to the parade entries on the 4th. We do appreciate it. And we know towns of all sizes can often use changes. Some are good and some are not so good. Our first change was our town motto, Heart of the Pine River Valley. I can now understand that change as we are losing our heart of the valley. We are learning that no matter what works does not always satisfy the present administration, such as removing our coordinator from our organization, telling us what hours we may use the center, and the seniors are beginning to feel like second-class citizens by eliminating the discount on utilities that have been in place for the past 30 years. We are seeming to get money for everything but the seniors. We get grants here, we get grants there, and I'm sure there are some that can help the senior citizens. They have worked hard all their lives to make this town what it is. And on the 4th of July parade, I thank Becky. She's worked it for many years. But I have received no less than 30 phone calls wanting to know why there was no official lineup, announcer, judges, or prizes for the hardworking people that put together their floats or whatever they may be entering, which took hours and expense. They received no recognition. We feel we are now being dictated to. The senior center is not the only problem this town seems to be facing. My disappointment in the town board for allowing this to happen is overwhelming. If you dislike our ways so much, the road goes both ways, in and out. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to address the board?
I'm Ann Schreier. I live up in Forest Lakes at 92 Blue Ridge Drive. We've been here 21 years. We have our little 4-room museum that we're very proud to have, And it's one of the few that is free entry. I was amazed at the number of people that came into town, but I think a lot of them were suffering from hibernation. We had people coming from Wisconsin that told me they had to book in March to find a place to put their RV trailer. So we all would love to have you come out. We've had 50 visitors that day. And of course, the heat was something else to deal with. But we always ask our visitors to come in and sign in so we know where they're coming from. And then when they leave, I'll make sure they sign our guest book. And I always motion over there. I said, take a free magnet with you. And it's sitting on top of our donation box. And pretty soon, that works. I hope that all of you will come out to see us. We're open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 until 2. We do special openings for family gatherings and anything else that you might need. So we'd love to have to come over and see the heritage of our valley here. Thank you.
Thank you.
My grandkids love that. Said my grandkids absolutely love that museum. And they like going down there every chance they get.
All right, does the board have any comments or anything they'd like to say before we move on? All right, we're going to move on to mosquito spraying. Teddy Jack?
I'm concerned. Okay,
Please
my
go
name
ahead
is
and
Teddy Jack.
thank
I'm
you.
542 West North Street, same place I've lived for 20 years. And I'm concerned about the mosquito spraying and the damage that it does to the ecology of the whole place. There's no bees no more. They were there a month ago and now they're gone. There's no bees to pollinate my bean plants. I cultivate an ancient variety of beans, and I have to climb up on a ladder and do it with a brush. And I'm not as good as that the bugs and the bees do. And I got one hummingbird comes to my hummingbird feeder this year. Is this mosquito spraying entirely necessary? And how much does it cost? How much money could we save if we didn't spray the mosquitoes? Nobody knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's been in our discussion packets. It's been in our board meetings. We voted on it.
I'm asking for a figure and a dollar figure.
I'd
How
have
much
to-
annually do we spend on mosquito spraying?
I would have to go back into the report and look at that.
Does none of these
So
resource people have a
my
clue?
computer is frozen, I can't seem to get in there. It's about $15,000 a year.
It's a shame that you've got money to do this with. And you have the worst 4th of July parade in all the world, and you charge $35 a thing to come in the
We're talking
parade.
about mosquitoes right now,
But we
Teddy?
could save a lot of money and spend it for better things than mosquito spraying. Who authorizes the mosquito spraying? Whose idea is that?
Teddy, that was a collective decision of the board back when West Nile was an issue.
Exactly.
And
Last
yeah,
year.
and not last year. This was a board decision. Dr. Brown was on the
No,
board
West
then.
Nile was last
Dr.
year here.
Dr. Brown was on the board when that decision was made. So we're going back at least 15 years when that
You know, we have
decision
a
was
lot
made.
less irrigated land around us. We've been in a drought for 5 years. There's no
We still have
standing water
mosquitoes,
hardly
though.
anywhere.
And we had cases of West Nile
I
in
haven't
this
been
area
out
last year.
In this town.
In this town last year, West Nile.
Yeah, we had
I live
6
right next to
cases.
the river, and I don't have a mosquito problem.
Well, that's because we were spraying for them.
Yeah, I knew you'd say that. I knew that was coming.
What did you want me to
I
say?
I knew you'd say, see how well it works?
No, but
But,
I
There-
I
there are
think the
actually
biggest
new houses.
concern
Okay,
is,
okay.
is the West Nile. And, you know, she
Well, how
works
many
for public
people
health.
died
She
of
knows
West Nile in Bayfield? How many
6
people can-
cases last year.
How many people contracted the disease?
Actually, I know several people that have contracted that disease that
So
have
do I.
lived here, and they have suffered immensely from it, Teddy.
Yeah, I don't know any of these people.
You would know them.
Do you have any names?
We
Did you
cannot
mention
I don't
names?
disclose
need to
that.
give them their names. That's a
That's a
HIPAA deal
HIPAA
anyway.
violation.
Okay.
But we hear your concern. There's actually more people in this town that want the spraying than don't. This is a very popular request from the town.
What about the honeybees and the animals that it kill? And I know they kill them because the people that spray it explained that and admitted it to me that they do kill the honeybees.
Teddy, you're out at the end of the road. If you don't want people to spray down there at the end of the road, put a sign out in front of your house asking them not to spray. We will make a notation of that. We will ask the mosquito guy not to go all the way down to the end of North Street, since you're the only person at the end of North Street, if that's what it takes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, there is an application.
But you need to put a sign up saying, please do not spray.
Okay. I'm pretty sure it's a waste of money. You don't have any real good evidence except the old West Nile thing from several years back.
It's from last year, sir.
This was just a test. I knew you would say no, but I just wanted to see your faces and see where your head's at on this. And I can see that nobody cares. You're busy
We do
worrying
care.
about your 700
There's no
new
treatment,
care.
there's no preventative measures for West Nile other than making sure there's no mosquitoes. 6 people
I
had
don't
this
know
last
anybody,
year.
and I've lived here and I talked to a lot of people.
Yes, but I work in public health. That's my other job when I'm not here. And I know that these get reported to us because they get reported to me. I cannot share with you who these people are, but it is public information that we had West Nile cases in La Plata County last year and in Archuleta County. And there's no other way to prevent other than, wearing the long clothing, using the, mosquito preventative like sprays, but also spraying for mosquitoes is a way to help people not end up having the signs and symptoms that they contract when they get the West Nile virus. These are people who are sick for months on end with fatigue. This does cause death. Like, there's many different health components to this that it's a good thing that people don't want to have West Nile virus.
It's so remote. There's just such a remote thing.
But
For
these are
amount
just
of
the
people
6
live in
cases that we're
Bayfield,
aware of.
It's a remote thing.
Like I said,
And I know you
there
guys
are
just-
other organic gardens in town that do not want the spraying. They put signs up. We can help you get signs up, and we can help.
Just because they don't
with
spray
that.
in front of my house, they spray on the other side of the river and it comes right across the river.
Okay.
It needs to be shut down. It needs to be done away with. I guess you need some scientists to do researches and back this up, but,
Thank you.
I
Thank
know
you for your
guys
time.
won't do nothing. That you're good at that, what I know of you.
Thank you.
All right,
That's
thank
all
you,
I got
Teddy.
to say. And it's just the poor bees. What about the honeybees? You're
All right,
killing-
Teddy,
you're
we're
killing
gonna
live animals.
we're gonna move on. All right, moving on to drought management rates.
So after that great rain that we had at the end of June, I didn't think it was necessary to bring drought rates regarding the drought management plan to you today. But if this drought continues, this may be something you consider in your meeting, which is July 20th. So currently, right now, I just provided the base rates for in-town, commercial base rates, and then usage or rates outside of town. And if we'll do some education, that's certainly important for us to do. I know that we did post a picture of Vallecito Lake, and we did get a lot of comments, and a lot of people were, trying to mention that they were cutting down. There's still a lot of irrigation water in the area, and I think what would be important is also getting information about there are a lot of properties, even subdivisions that have irrigation water they're watering with, and they call that water, maybe on a Wednesday, and it may not be an odd or even day. So those are things we'll have to do a little more information about. These are for your discussion. We're not deciding these today. Typically, a rate change also gets people's attention when they're watering lawns. So the first increase for in-town would be 10% of the conservation, and I'm sorry, it's just a little bit outside of the CON, just stands for conservation. And then if we would go to an extreme drought, it would be 20%, and that's the water usage, not necessarily the base rate. So for one person or homes that don't use a whole lot of water, this should not affect them. For those homes that do use a lot of water, this will be affected. And keep in mind, what we have some issues with is people watering their lawns when we're hoping to save that water to drink and do essential functions, keep our businesses open, and things like that. So the commercial base rate, there's no increase for a severe drought. The reason is because typically they're going to reduce their usage anyway. They don't necessarily have large lawns. They may have landscaping. We do want to make sure that they keep trees and bushes alive. But typically most businesses don't necessarily have large landscapes to take care of. And then if we went to an extreme drought, it would be 10% change from conservation. Then the out of town would be 20% of conservation for a severe drought and 40% of conservation for an extreme drought, trying to get them to cut down. And even the town has a lift station at also just the subdivision west of us, and we got a notice that our water rates would go up there too immediately, not waiting for any other changes. And I'm not aware of whether or not they've adopted a drought plan. Homestead Trails, I'm sorry, all of a sudden it was just
No.
outside of my.
They raised their water rate.
Yes.
Are they on a well, or did they tie into LaPlade?
They're groundwater.
Groundwater,
Mhm.
yet. Okay.
And then the surcharge under the white column is what we currently adopted with Ordinance 460, which was just recently. The column all the way to the right is actually what it used to be. So we're actually reducing it a little bit during a conservation period, and then kind of increasing it as we have severe or extreme droughts. The one thing I did not add is the water station, and for the same reason, I would probably, just like we would do out of town for severe, it would be 20% of the conservation, which is currently $2 cents a gallon, and then increasing it to 40% if we're in an extreme drought.
Questions, comments? I don't think this is out of line at all.
I don't think so either. I mean, if it gets people to cut down on it, I'm all for it, so.
I mean, when
When
had-
it's needed.
When it was all those hot, dry days, I noticed a difference in the neighborhood. People kind of backed off on their watering and stuff. So I think whatever kind of notices and maybe even the article in the paper or whatever just kind of made people aware a little more.
And the one thing that we can't police is overwatering at night. I don't think you expect your public works
Right.
Staff to be out there looking at night if they're watering on an odd or even day or overwatering. So the rate basically says, that even at night, be careful how you're watering. Even I turned off my sprinkler. It's been almost 10 days now, and you couldn't. Well, at least I don't have to mow as much, but
Yeah.
you couldn't tell that it's dried up yet. So.
And I do agree that we need to educate the community and kind of get the word out as well before we adopt it, so.
So if this is something that you would like, it will come in an official document versus this spreadsheet, and it'll be something that would be enforceable, at the time that we determine that we're in severe or extreme drought.
Did you have a question? You can go ahead and.
I don't really have a question, I have a comment.
Can you just please step up to the mic?
So, since all this discussion has been going on
Sorry, you
about-
just have to say your name and address for the record.
Oh, Lucy Stewart, I'm at 128 North Appaloosa. But since all this conserving the water, I'm wondering who's patrolling the town. I see these sprinklers spraying the asphalt. I have to go into Durango by 4 o'clock. When these sprinklers are out, they're spraying out here, and they're not the only ones. But I think the biggest waste of water is the town itself. And I think that they need to control where those sprinklers are at. It's not just the citizens. I think the town has to take the first step.
So is this is something that we could see?
On the 20th.
Okay. I mean, how does everybody feel? Are you good with this
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yes.
proposal?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can go ahead and move forward. All right, moving on to our meeting decorum policy. That is page 61.
So now that we're back open, we love to have citizens here. We'd love to hear their comments. I did not realize you did not have a meeting decorum policy. I am suggesting you have something. Typically, what this would be is it would be on the back of the agendas. It would be, posted in a clear area. We would also ask that not only that all people in this boardroom follow this decorum. That means me. That means the department directors. That means elected officials. I think that's where you have to be leaders in meeting decorum. And then of course talking about what doesn't work when there's language or information or the way they're stating it or threatening that does not affect a decision. So it's certainly up to you. Typically, if you have other meetings like a planning commission or something else, you're adopting that for that meeting protocol. Anything that happens, you may have a meeting out at the Eagle Pavilion. You may have a meeting at the senior center, but typically that would follow that same type of meeting decorum.
Yeah, and I honestly, I think this is important. I think it would help me with the flow. I mean, I did get sworn in the middle of a pandemic when nobody was allowed in the room. So having people back in the room kind of, and I want to give the public time to address the board. It's just been very hard to kind of get on the same page and when we fit that in. So I think this is an important discussion to have here.
So Katie, or Madam Mayor, is this something that we would have posted somewhere for everyone to see as a reminder for those of us in the town, trustees, the public, just so that everyone is on the same page as to what the expectations are? I do think there's a lot of rules that come with being at board meetings. I know in public health I've been to many because they're monthly. And knowing when to speak, when not to speak, what you can say, what you can't say. I don't always keep track of all those rules. So I can't imagine everyone's going to know when they walk in here if it's their first time because they're passionate about something that's on our agenda that they're going to understand. There's a reason why we're not answering questions. There's a reason why things go a certain way. So I think it would be good for everyone to kind of understand what happens. So if this was posted somewhere large and in charge for everyone to see.
Typically it is. Typically, you don't want to take over your area, but typically it's very clear to anybody that's in the room.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think it's a good thing to have.
I don't know, I guess, I don't see any downside to it, but I have to admit, I don't see any need for it either. And I understand what you're saying. But having participated in my good share of meetings, public meetings, people generally behave
That's true.
pretty well.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day,
and you and I-
I'm not saying they don't get out of hand every once in a while, get a little rowdy.
and at the end of the day, it is my responsibility to
And
kind
it's
of
the chair's
fund all the meetings. So
responsibility to maintain
I will learn how to
order.
use that gavel one day, I promise.
And I just want to toss that out there, that maybe it is that time of our lives now where we need to have rules about how you behave. But personally,
No, yeah, that's-
it's just, I don't know. I just kind of have a problem with it.
I think your point's well taken, Josh. You know, I've chaired a lot of meetings as well.
Yeah.
And generally, people who come to a public meeting come with an idea of what they want to say and get up and say it. In fact, most people are terrified to get up and speak. So, and that as a board, we want you to be comfortable speaking to us. Nobody, I understand, sitting out there is different than sitting up here. It really is.
Yeah, so just a comment.
Yeah. Thoughts? Comments? Like I said, I don't see any downside to having it posted.
I don't see a downside to having it posted, but I agree, there's not really I don't really feel like there's a big need, but if there ever was a need, at least we had it that we could reference back to.
Defer
So,
to.
yeah, I mean, on that respect, if you did have that happen in the future
Well, and also it
sometime,
does, and it does give a sense of how the meeting is ran itself. I mean, you're kind of laid out there. And and that is one of those things, because when people get up and do address the board, like Brenna says, we don't always answer, and that is by design.
Yeah,
That is by design.
not out of lack of caring or anything like that, but yeah, I mean, that can kind of, especially as you get newer people that come in and they've never been to board meetings and stuff, and they read that, they can, kind of figure out, oh, well, this is the reason they're just standing there staring at me.
So is the general consensus to draft a policy, we're okay with moving forward?
Yeah.
Okay. Board reports. Who we got?
Next week.
I went to a TPR tour of the Bridges to Nowhere site. It's not gonna be Bridges to Nowhere long.
That looks pretty good, huh?
And quite an impressive contractor at work there. And it's unfortunate that they were not the contractor to the original set of bridges, because they would have solved some of the issues that the now bridge has. So, but impressive, to say the least. Those are huge, huge bridges. My
They really
God.
are.
They're higher than the High Bridge.
I will say, actually, we do have 2 people to fill our vacancies on Planning Commission now. Woohoo!
Oh,
So-
yay.
That's right.
Yeah, so we're
Nice.
gonna move on, chat with that, next Tuesday.
Hooray.
Cool.
Can I just say something?
Please.
Just a general comment to everybody who came out tonight. It's not easy showing up. It's not easy being up here. It's not easy being a citizen. And tonight you're citizens, and we appreciate that. And one thing I like about this job is that I can sit up here and I can hear somebody say, "You're doing too much," and then the next person gets up and says, "You're not doing enough," and then the other person gets up and says, "You don't do anything at all." And there you go, and that's why you have to keep showing up.
Very
and
true.
Tell us about stuff, or else we don't know. We don't know that we're not doing nothing. We don't know we don't know we're doing too much. So thanks for showing up tonight.
All right, if the board,
I just had one thing to say. The sign looks amazing.
oh,
Oh, yes,
I love it.
the mural.
the mural?
Yeah, the mural is great.
Yeah,
I've gotten several comments
Yeah.
about that.
I do
it's
like it.
pretty awesome.
All right, well, if that, I have all of my executive committee meetings and everything's next week, so I'll fill you in next week.
Where do you?
There's nothing else. I will adjourn this meeting. It is 7:57.
Thank you.
That mural happened so fast.
Yeah, she did like 4 days.
Like,
I didn't
I looked at